into football here, and I'm reaching out to people I know that know a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not going to spend too much time down in Dallas this weekend, but we're going to get in and out. Had a big week with Dirk Nowitzki. Hell, I've been on the team bus with the Dallas Mavericks the last 2 weeks, from L.A. up to Golden State, up to New York and Madison Square Garden with our guy Niels. And Brian Baldinger is back with us, my dear friend. Baldy, I got to tell you, man, I took Niels up to New York, and we drove through Philadelphia. Had a horrible experience in Philadelphia. It's now his least favorite American city, which I think everyone outside of America would agree with that, that's been to Philadelphia. And I know you live in Philly, but we drove through Philly, and I got detoured at Exit 4 there in Mount Laurel, and I had to go through Marlton and go Route 73 around this traffic accident. So I had a little moment where I thought of you, but I knew that you weren't home. Otherwise, we would have stopped by for probably some really fine Italian espresso, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, we could have done that. We could have made the espresso for you and Niels, but we probably could have seen some good Springsteen paraphernalia, around the house. But, I'm sorry about the derailment there, but I'm sure that knowing you, Nasty, you guys made the very best of it.
Google Maps, baby, 295. I got, right on the Garden State. I swung around it into, through Belmar and then Exit 3. Boom, I'm back on the highway. How about that?
Yeah, that's good. No, you did the right thing. I mean, I could have done that without Google Maps, but I'm sure that you figured it all out.
I didn't know where Belmar was until I was there. Or Cinnamon Sin, for that matter.
Look,
but
I live in South Jersey, Nancy, and I tell you the number of times I've gone through Belmar. So, on one hand, it's not a real popular little hamlet there in South Jersey.
Well, we were on 95 going on the Jersey Turnpike. I put on, and you'll appreciate this, because I was with Niels. I played Born to Run and Born in the USA, track for track, as we made it from we didn't cross the Delaware Memorial Bridge. We came across Philadelphia, so we came through Cinnamon Sin, right? Down that route toward Exit 4 and Cherry Hill and into Mount Laurel. And I put on Springsteen right at Exit 4, and it made it right on into the Holland Tunnel, man. I mean, we were getting right up onto my hometown at the end of Born in the USA. So it was a really nice ride for us. But this week it's different. I got to go to Dallas, 8-1, the Romo press conference, Dak Prescott. You've been watching this a long time and opining on it a long time. This Dak Prescott thing really it's unique, right? And Philadelphia's trying to do it with Carson Wentz. But to be 8-1 in this Romo sort of Wally Pitt moment, for the Ravens to be coming into Dallas right now, it's an interesting week in Dallas.
It is. This 8-game win streak. I mean, if you talk about Dak Prescott now, so you got to go back to his first game in the NFL, which is a preseason game at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. It was the Rams' first game. The Rams back in L.A. There's 90,000 people in that bowl there. And he came onto the field. He took the Cowboys down the field. He threw a touchdown pass to Dez Bryant. He didn't go running into the end zone and going to celebrate. He acted like he belonged. And ever since that opening drive against the Rams in the very first preseason game, he's never blinked. And this decision, I mean, they're making this decision now, and Romo's giving it in. But I looked at this thing after the second week, going, they're not putting Romo back in there. I mean, they're going to put him in the bullpen, and if something happens to Dak, if he falls apart, if there's some kind of unfortunate injury, whatever, they'll go to Romo in the bullpen. But you could just tell that this is the most confident team in the league right now. It's a great challenge for the Ravens, but you could just tell the way that they played throughout the preseason and during this, and even in the opening game loss to the Giants, it was a very good football team. And you could see all phases improving, but it's all about the quarterback right now and that running back. I mean, the two rookies, it's unprecedented.
Well, and drafting well is the story here, right? So as much as Jerry Jones has been beaten up since your time there, over the last 25 years, literally from the minute, Jimmy Johnson got pushed out the side door, right? The spotlight has been on Jerry and on drafting and on winning and on being good enough. And, Romo was not the golden child. I mean, very far from it, right? I mean, he was sort of least likely to succeed as well when his time came. But this Dak Prescott story, we've been wondering who was going to replace Romo. Why this kid? Why? How did this happen? How do you miss a kid like this when you're out there drafting the Johnny Manziels of the world?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, the Cowboys haven't won 8 in a row now since they last won a Super Bowl in '95. It's the last 8-game win streak they've had. So they've got a 20-year drought without seeing anything like this. Now, Dak Prescott, he's the 8th quarterback drafted out of 15 that got drafted, which was a record number of quarterbacks. And you go, well, how is he the 8th guy? And, I was doing an Alabama game a couple weeks ago and go, let me see what Prescott looked like against Alabama last year. Well, he struggled more against Alabama in his senior year last year, than he has in any game this year. And you go, okay, well, how do you miss this evaluation? Well, if he's getting crushed every time he drops back against Alabama last year, it's kind of a tough evaluation. Now he's playing behind arguably the best offensive line in football and a surrounding cast that we all know what their names are. They're really, really good. And, he really understands where to go with the ball. But it's tough to evaluate some of these kids in college when the team around him isn't very good and they're trying to do it all by themselves. That's not the case right now. He doesn't have to do it all by himself, but he makes good decisions. He throws the ball really well on the run, and he's the commander-in-chief. I mean, he's just darn good, I'll tell you that.
He is my dear friend Brian Baldinger checking in from lovely Marlton, New Jersey. And, of course, a longtime Cowboy as well as a Colt, as well as an Eagle, and an offensive lineman. And, look, if we're going to talk about the Ravens this year and what their inadequacies are, certainly it's not on the defensive side of the ball. It's getting 5 healthy, similar offensive linemen into a game. They haven't played with the same O-line. We're, going 10 games deep now, and now they're not going to have Alex Lewis, who they thought enough to start as a rookie left guard, then a rookie left tackle. Ronnie Stanley's back in, but Yonda's out. When the offensive line's not together, Baldy, break it down in layman's terms for me, because I'm always trying to explain it here. But the problem here isn't Flacco. The problem here isn't Ozzie or John Harbaugh or Dean Pease or even Mark Trestman and now turning the offensive reins over to Marty Morningwig. If you have different offensive linemen every week and you're using second and third guys on your depth chart out of position, chances are it's not going to go well.
Well, I can't really add too much to what you just said, Nasty. I mean, look, the one thing I evaluate every preseason and throughout the season is a team's offensive line, and the team that struggles is the team that typically struggles in the offensive line. And when an offense struggles, I mean, Joe Flacco didn't forget how to play quarterback, and John Harbaugh, all those guys you mentioned. I mean, they're all really good at what they do, and they have proven that over a long stretch of time. But yeah, I mean, look, Marshall Yanda is arguably the best guard in football. He makes the center better. He makes the right tackle better. He makes everybody look better. I mean, there's not many guys that move the line of scrimmage the way he does. And you need one just tough SOB up front to really set the tone. And that's what Yanda has always done. Now, look, Alex Lewis, Ronnie Stanley, they're rookies, they're learning, then they're in the lineup, out of the lineup, they're not practicing. Juan Castillo knows how to build an offensive line. He knows how to train players. He's been doing it for over 2 decades. I have a lot of faith in Juan Castillo as a coach. But if you're juggling parts every week, you just have to make one technical mistake on the offensive line, and the play can be ruined. And it has happened time and time again. And, look, Terrence West is having a pretty good season considering what's going on up front. But that's where the problems lie, and why, they play the Redskins, they can score 10 points. I mean, they just can't consistently move the football right now, especially when they have to, and especially when the defense is keeping them in just about every game they've played so far this year.
I had the fortune, I know you've been in a lot of these meetings, but for, a tenderfoot like myself, Jack Del Rio welcomed me and my wife and her donor, Niels, into their team meeting last Wednesday morning. So, and I've never done this, 21 years of being around the Ravens. I don't know that Billick would have ever allowed me in there. I know John wouldn't. I know Kevin Byrne wouldn't. But we sat in the back of the room for an hour-long team meeting, and I gave a little presentation. We wound up swabbing 44 Raiders last week due to Jack Del Rio, and, of course, Rod Woodson's out there. But a big part of the team meeting was, Jack throws out the T-shirts for the Jackhammers of the week and good plays, and Kelechi Osemele was all over the game film in the Denver game, right? And Kelechi's sitting in the middle of the room, and I gave him a high five and a hello and whatnot. But you lose a guy like that. You talk about Yanda, it's hard to replace a $12 million guard, even whether he was worth that money or not. But he's out in Oakland playing really well for them and not for you. And when you start to lose those guys, maybe he would have been the next guy, but they've drafted so well that they have 2 $10 million guards in this organization, and they had to let one of them walk.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that Oakland-Denver game. On many shows just like this one, Nasty, I've told people over the last week and a half, my favorite NFL game of the year was the Raiders beating the Denver Broncos. And to watch Kelechi and Hudson and Penn and Watson literally mangle the Denver Broncos play to play and run the ball down their throats. It was just old. I mean, Al Davis would be cheering that type of football. John Madden had to be just jumping, up and down to watch it. It was a brand of football that, the Ravens played, when they played the divisional championship games against the Patriots a couple of years ago, and they should have won that game, losing 31-28. It was that brand of football. And it was a type of brand of football that, you saw a lot when Yanda and Kelechi were playing together. They're hard to find. Nasty, they're hard to find, just nasty physical guards that move the line of scrimmage, that enjoy throwing bodies around. And I'm sure Jack let you in because I'm sure he was in. I'm sure Mike Tice didn't mind that.
I saw Mike
too.
Of
the room. Yeah, no, because those two guys that was probably as good a game that they have watched their teams play, that they have coached in a long, long time. And I'm sure they were thinking, this is what is yet to come. This brand of football, which not many teams in this league are capable of playing.
All right, well, tell me about the Ravens right now, going down to Dallas and taking some odds on going after the Cowboys. How do the Ravens beat the Cowboys this week? I guess for the Ravens, it really starts with defense and the brand of, the story here is, can they stop Ezekiel Elliott? Can they slow down this offense? Can they neutralize Witten? Can they mark Des Bryant? Maybe yes to all of that. I don't know. That's why they're going to play the game on Sunday.
No, but look, that's what you're saying is exactly right, Nasty. It starts on defense. It starts with that running back. The big boys up front. Got to wear their pads this week. Look, this Ezekiel Elliott is the real deal. He's a heck of a back. He's going to force you to fundamentally tackle as well as you've ever tackled in your life. You're not bringing that guy down with arm tackles, and if you think you are, by the time you get to the fourth quarter, he's going to do what he did last week and what he did against Cincinnati and what he did against Green Bay. He's going to finish the game with an electrifying run where he looks like he's back in college playing against, Indiana or something. You just can't let that get started. And they're going to give it to him, 15 to 20 times. They're going to let him try to do that. And that's where it all starts. You got to limit him. You got to make him work for every yard. You can't let him get to the fourth quarter in a close game to blow it open. And on defense, Dallas is not the most talented defense, but Rod Marinelli has them playing. He preached to these guys, look, when you think you played hard enough, I'm going to show you why and how you can play harder. And that's what you see. You see unbelievable effort by defense. And their front four, they're not great. I think the Ravens, even with all the injuries up front, can handle them, but they are relentless. And they do these twist stunts up front. And all of a sudden, you think you got him blocked, and here comes a loop guy coming free, and Flacco moves. The one thing you'll see from every quarterback that they play against, they move the quarterback off the spot. And we all know Joe's capable of playing good football when he's on the move. But that's what they want to do to Joe. They want to move him, and they're capable of moving him. And, look, when you move him, you cut the field in half. You sometimes get the quarterback's eyes to drop. Sometimes a lot of bad things happen when you move the quarterback.
Well, it's interesting. In a couple of weeks, I was with Marvin up in New York on Sunday, and that Seattle-New England game was going on, and New England's the best team on the planet until they're not anymore. Dallas is going to lose at some point. I don't think they're going 15-1. I don't know if the Ravens are the team to make that happen this week, but certainly the Ravens have something that it felt like they didn't have a couple of weeks ago, which is hope, right? You lose 4 games in a row. You're not feeling good about yourself. You got a Steelers team coming in. You thought Roethlisberger wasn't going to play, and he did, and he didn't play well, and part of that was forced by the Ravens. And now the Ravens wake up after, it felt like 96 hours last week where they go from maybe not having a season at all to fall to 3-5 to find themselves at 5-4 and looking up or at well, hey, no one's catching us right now. The Steelers and the Bengals aren't playing good football. 9 wins might win this division, and that might not smell as good around here, but I tell you what does smell good. What smells good is a home game in January against a wild card team that might be the Chiefs, it might be the Broncos, whoever it is, but this is a unique situation where the AFC North is down, and somebody's going to win 9 games and win this division.
Well, there's still a lot of football to be played. As much as those teams struggle, I still expect Pittsburgh's offense to click at some point this year where they're capable of putting up a 30 spot on you. Like, all those things can happen. Look, this Cowboys team is beatable, Nasty. The Eagles had them on the ropes they could have easily won that game 2 weeks ago on a Sunday night. If you look at them on the road at San Francisco this year, they're down 14-0 in the second quarter. I mean, it's not like they've just stepped on the field and just won these games by just showing up. I mean, teams have had chances at them. Like, this is going to be a close game with Baltimore. Baltimore's going to force it to be a close game. Look, they've got two great kickers in this game. It may come down to who has the best kicker. And can he kick one from 55 to win it? Look, Justin Tucker back in Texas, I can see him winning this game. I can see this thing being close. Look, they just don't come out and throw go routes all day. That's not their style of football. I mean, they are able to really put a lot of good drives together. They don't make a lot of mistakes. So you can't make mistakes. You can't get yourself heavily penalized. You can't turn the ball over. I mean, all those kind of things are going to be preached all week long by John. But there's ways to win this game, and it's a style of play that you got to have. You got to be really patient. You got to be technically sound. You got to tackle well. If you do those things, you're going to have a chance to win the game at the end. And I expect the Ravens to play that brand of football.
He is my dear friend Brian Baldinger. You can find him out on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere the internet is served. Of course, at Fox Sports as well, calling some college football. But we're going to stick, because you spend so much time down in Texas running around with the Baylors and all of those teams. Steelers and the Bengals. Some thoughts about their demise here over the last couple of weeks, because the Steelers felt like a pretty good football team even after they went over to Philadelphia and got their ass kicked 6 weeks ago. You still had a thought, well, they're going to win 10 or 11 or 12 games. Certainly not going to happen at this point. They look like a shell at this point. They look a little lost.
Well, I mean, look, Ben missed a couple games. Landry Jones threw 47 passes against the New England Patriots a couple weeks ago. He didn't get touched. He just wasn't very good. I mean, Ben was in that game the way they protected. I mean, I would have expected that the Steelers could have given them a real run for the money. They had the game won last week to the final 47 seconds. They make a stupid mistake on a kickoff, and next thing you know, you get good field position, and Dallas comes down and scores. But I mean, they had that game won. Pittsburgh doesn't have a really good defensive line. They don't have a great pass rush. They just lose Cam Hayward for the season. They're dealing with injuries. But I still think offensively they've got the tools to be really good and for them to carry them. I expect them to get to 9 wins for sure. But, 9 or 10 wins can still win this division. Cincinnati, they're just not as good up front anymore. I mean, the injuries have kind of caught up to them, but their offensive and defensive lines, aside from the injuries and the free agent defections of losing Sanu and, losing the guy Marvin Jones, losing the guys they lost, and just finally getting Eifert back, they've lost a lot of close games, tough games, but when I saw them, Dallas just jump on them 28-0, they didn't look like the same team now. They didn't look as tough and deep and physical in the trenches as they have been. And it's affected the quarterback tremendously this year.
Your NFC East is improved, across the board. I don't know that any team outside the Cowboys are a great team, but certainly the Eagles have turned a little bit of a corner, and they got a hell of a game this week out in Seattle, right?
They do. The NFC is, look, there's not a team with a losing record. All the teams have gotten pretty good play. The Giants are on a 4-game win streak. They've won 6 games by a total of 21 points. So the games that they were losing by at the end last year, they're finding ways to win, including last Sunday. The team that, I think is going to be really good is the Redskins. Now, their offense is dynamic, and they have a number of different guys that can beat you on any given play or any given day right now. And they're doing it without their best player, Trent Williams. So, that team they're all going to be players in this thing. I mean, the Eagles have 3 division games at home down the stretch here. They lost 3 close games to both the Giants, the Redskins, and the Cowboys, and they're going to get those 3 teams at home. And so there's a ton of division games to be played in the NFC East. And I'm not saying even with Dallas with an 8-game win streak and this really, really, great record they have, they're going to be in some real Donnybrooks here before the season's over, just in their own division.
Packers have fallen from grace. You mentioned the Redskins. That's the Sunday night game. Well, the Redskins can sort of end the Packers season on Sunday night, right?
Well, the Packers are ending their own season now. I mean, they gave up 35 points to Tennessee in the first half last week, and it looked like college football. I mean, there goes DeMarco Murray for 75 on the first play, and there goes DeMarco on a wheel route for 35 for a touchdown. I mean, they did whatever they wanted to do in that game to Green Bay, and they were completely helpless to stop them. They've got no running attack. The running attack is Aaron Rodgers running around back there and throwing 5-yard passes or scrambling for a first down. That's the rushing attack right now. They're not a good football team. I don't think they're going to turn it around. I don't know what type of division there are between the head coach and the quarterback, but I know this. In this business, the quarterback can only carry, no matter if his name is Aaron Rodgers or not, he can only take you so far. You've got to be good around him. And if you let your best offensive lineman go in preseason and he goes to Chicago, then all of a sudden you realize that maybe we're not that good up front. Maybe we don't protect that well. Maybe we don't open up holes in the run game real well. So they look like a bad football team right now, and if they do lose this week, I do think it's going to be over for them.
He is Brian Baldinger, our longtime friend, and you spent some time, and you love baseball. You know, you're sort of kind of my age of that era and growing up in Massapequa, playing some baseball as well. You went to the World Series this year. You look like you're having pretty good fun out there.
I went to the first game, obviously between Cleveland and Chicago. In Cleveland, it was, Kluber had an unbelievable day, but it was in a historical World Series, and I knew that. And I just wanted to see the atmosphere, what it's like. Cleveland obviously has had a dearth of championships for a long time. But, you get the NBA championship and you get a potential Cleveland Indian championship in the same year. Why not go join the fun? I know that's enemy territory for you, Nasty. But,
I always have fun in Cleveland.
Yeah, I left that game, and I said, this game is going, these teams are so evenly matched, this has got to go 7. And it went 7. It was a phenomenal series, much like the NBA championship game. I mean, there was 2. We've been lucky. We've seen the NBA championship and the World Series this year, and we've seen great series.
Baldy, you are the travel dog. You going over to Australia and New Zealand with me and Springsteen over there and try to investigate these earthquakes over there, or what?
Well, I'm not going to investigate the earthquakes. I mean, I'm not a real big fan of those. Nancy,
We're not at all.
I mean, I could be talking going down under.
Well, I mean,
my best friend got married in New Zealand, quite a few years back, Kurt Menefee, and we had a great time in New Zealand. The Kiwis know how to treat people like us.
I need some Baldy special travel tips I have never been to I've been to New Zealand to the airport, but I've never hung out. So I'm doing 5 days in New Zealand and 10 days in Australia.
You got to get to the South Island. The South Island is where the magic really happens with the geysers and the mountains and the glaciers. I mean, it's just a visual feast, you got to go see it.
All right, well, you've talked me into it. I will be there. Take care of yourself out there. We're all pulling for you, and we'll check back in with you again soon. We'll talk some more football. Hopefully, the Ravens can do the dirty trick down in the Dirty D on Sunday. I think it's going to be a really good football game. I'm excited about going down for this one.
Well, one thing about Dallas, if things aren't going real well down there for them, Nasty, you and all of your Ravens supporters will be well heard.
Well, the ones with the stars will be leaving. We'll see the backs of their jerseys. Hopefully, our fans are excited about going down there because of the stadium and the environment. Yep. We don't play in Dallas a whole lot, only every 8 years, so it'll be a great weekend. Baldy, great catching up with you, man.
My pleasure, Nasty. Anytime, buddy.
The great Brian Baldinger, the travel dog, and my former co-host and partner in crime back at Sporting News Radio back in the day at the turn of the century, as we say. We keep relationships around here. That's how we do it. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. It's all brought to you by buyatoyota.com. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox every morning at 7 a.m. It's free of charge and powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. You can get some inspiration out of planetoftriumphs.com as well as you get ready for the holidays. I still have not had my first batch of eggnog. I am awaiting that. Although my wife did have a really good spiked eggnog somewhere on the road. I think it was in Los Angeles or San Francisco. I don't know where it was. I'm a little punch drunk from all the traveling with Niels last week. If you're on our Facebook, our Twitter, our LinkedIn, our Snapchat, Instagram, you saw it all unfold. I'm writing a retrospective over the weekend of all the kindness, of all the incredible people that took part in Niels' Niels' first visit to the United States. We had some fun, but I'm off to Dallas this weekend. Luke's on the backfields out in Owings Mills. If there's any breaking news, it will happen first on the WNST text service. That's brought to you, of course, by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for the weekend, as he does every week. Monday night, we'll be at Buffalo Wild Wings in Owings Mills. I will make my return to the best seat in the house promotion on Monday night. Pretty decent Monday night game as well on the slate, as Houston and Oakland are going after it in Mexico City. I'll share some of our Oakland Raiders swabbing pictures. We swabbed 44 Ravens out in the Bay Area last Wednesday. Big thanks to Jack Del Rio on that. I'll be writing about that in a power blog early next week at WNST.net. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere the internet is served. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.